Welcome back to Room 13A. If you love spine-chilling Appalachian horror stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale from the shadows. Now, let's dive into tonight's story. The wind howled through the trees as I stepped onto the narrow path leading up Brushy Mountain. Fog clung to the ground like a living thing, curling around the roots and rocks. Every step I took seemed to echo in the silence, but then the echo didn't stop. Something else was answering back. Brushy Mountain isn't on most maps. Locals avoid it, crossing themselves when they speak its name. They whisper about shadows that move without light, and voices carried by the wind that call your name when no one is there. Tonight, I was alone, and yet I could feel it watching. The path narrowed, twisting between gnarled trees that looked more like hands than trunks. A broken fence ran along one side, barely holding the undergrowth at bay. In the distance, a cabin, or what was left of one, peeked through the mist. Its windows were black holes, and the door hung crooked on rusted hinges. The kind of place stories are born from, the kind you don't visit after dark. As I stepped closer, the air grew colder, biting at my skin. The silence broke with a faint creaking, like footsteps following me just beyond sight. I froze. My breath puffed out in the cold, mingling with the fog. There was a smell, too. Wet earth, smoke, and something else, faint but unmistakable. Decay. Then I heard it. A whisper, barely audible, carried on the wind. Leave. I spun around. Nothing. Just the trees and the mist, yet the feeling of eyes on my back wouldn't leave. Something wasn't right. The mountain was alive in a way that made your skin crawl, as if the forest itself remembered every scream, every disappearance, every soul that had vanished here long before me. I knew I should turn back. Everyone I'd spoken to warned me. They said Brushy Mountain doesn't forgive curiosity. But the stories pulled me forward, stories of the past refusing to rest, of ghosts still wandering the woods, seeking recognition or revenge. And with each step, the fog thickened, swallowing the path behind me. There was no going back now. And then, from the shadows, I thought I saw it. A figure, pale and broken, watching me from the edge of the trees. It didn't move. It didn't blink. And then it vanished. But the feeling it left, that chill crawling up my spine, told me I was no longer alone. What waited for me deeper in the forest? And how many had walked this path and never returned? The forgotten history. Brushy Mountain has a past the locals rarely speak of, yet it clings to the present like the mist over its slopes. Generations ago, miners came here, drawn by promises of wealth hidden beneath the rocky soil. Some say the mountain itself lured them, its tunnels twisting deeper than maps could chart, swallowing men whole. Families disappeared without a trace, leaving homes empty and dinners uneaten. Old newspapers tell fragmented stories, a mining accident here, a vanished traveler there. But the truth was never printed. The mountain had a memory, and it kept it in the whispers of the wind, in the hollow creak of dead trees, in the way the fog rolled down each night, like fingers seeking something or someone. Some locals tell of a miner named Elias Grayson, a man obsessed with the mountain's hidden veins. He vanished one night, leaving behind his pickaxe and a trail of blood leading into a tunnel that no one ever dared enter. People still swear his ghost lingers there, hammering endlessly in the dark, a warning or perhaps a call to those foolish enough to come close. Then there were the women. They spoke of figures at the edge of the woods, faces pale and eyes hollow, watching silently. Children refused to walk the mountain paths after dusk. Hunters reported hearing calls for help echoing through the trees, but no one was ever found. And yet, curiosity always brings new souls. I had to know why the air felt so heavy, why the fog felt almost alive, wrapping itself around my ankles like chains. The stories weren't just tales, they were signs, warnings carved into the bones of this mountain. The further I walked, the more I felt the weight of those who had come before me. Footprints appeared where there should be none. The wind carried voices, some pleading, some screaming, some just whisper my name. Shadows shifted at the corner of my eyes, vanishing the moment I turned. Then I came across an old stone marker, half buried in moss. Its inscription was nearly illegible, but I could make out a single word: remember. A shiver ran down my spine. Was it a warning? Or a message from the past, reaching through the veil between life and death? I felt a pull deeper into the mountain, as if the stories of the vanished weren't just memories, they were invitations. Invitations to join them, to become part of a lingering history that no living soul had ever fully escaped. Something moved behind me, brushing against the fog. A whisper, urgent and raspy. You shouldn't be here. And just like that, the mountain reminded me it was alive, and it remembered every step I took. Strange encounters in the woods. The deeper I ventured, the darker the forest became. The fog grew thick, curling around the twisted roots and fallen logs, hiding more than it revealed. Every step I took felt like stepping through history, a history written in shadows and whispered warnings. Then I heard it, a snapping branch, sharp and deliberate, somewhere to my left. I froze. My heart hammered in my chest. The wind had died down, and for a moment, all I could hear was my own breathing and the distant echo of something else moving in the trees. Something deliberate. I called out, my voice trembling. "Hello." Silence answered me. Only the fog shifted, brushing against my legs like icy fingers. I thought I saw a figure dart between the trees, too quick to be human. And then nothing. Just the mist swallowing everything. I pressed on, guided only by the faint moonlight filtering through the canopy. Shadows seemed to reach for me, stretching and twisting, forming shapes that disappeared when I blinked. I could swear I felt eyes on me, watching, studying, waiting. Then a whisper, soft but urgent. "Turn back." I stumbled across a clearing, and there it was, a circle of stones half buried in dirt and moss. Each stone was etched with crude symbols, almost like scratches from old nails. The air was colder here, heavy with a sense of dread that pressed against my chest. I wanted to leave, but curiosity rooted me in place. Something compelled me forward. Suddenly, a shadow darted across the clearing. No, more than one. Figures, pale and broken, gliding between the trees. Faces distorted, eyes hollow, mouths opening in silent screams. They vanished before I could focus, leaving only the sound of footsteps circling me, always just out of reach. A gust of wind brought the faint smell of smoke and decay. I turned sharply, and for a fleeting second, a figure was there, just at the edge of the fog. Its face was pale, frozen in terror or rage, I couldn't tell. And then it was gone. Only the echo of a whisper remained. "You will not leave." My pulse raced. Every instinct screamed to run, but the path forward seemed to call me, deeper into the forest, toward the heart of Brushy Mountain. The stories weren't just warnings, they were invitations. Invitations to witness what the mountain had claimed, to see the ghosts of those who had vanished long ago. As I stepped toward the next cluster of trees, the fog thickened, almost alive, closing in around me. Something moved within it, closer now. I could hear it breathing. And then a hand, pale and spectral, reached out from a mist. Would I escape what lurked in the shadows? Or was I already part of the mountain's history? The cabin in the mist. Through the thickening fog, I finally spotted it. A cabin broken and blackened with age, half swallowed by the forest. Its roof sagged under decades of neglect, and the windows were dark, like eyes staring into nothing. Every instinct screamed to turn back, but the mountain had me in its grip. As I stepped closer, the air grew colder, almost unbearable. My breath fogged in front of me, mingling with the mist that clung to the cabin walls. The door creaked as I pushed it open, swinging on rusted hinges. Inside, dust hung thick, covering old furniture that seemed frozen in time. Yet something felt alive, something watching. A sudden noise made me jump. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, echoing across the floorboards, though no one was there. Shadows shifted unnaturally, flickering in the corners. Then I heard a whisper, closer this time. Why are you here? I tried to steady myself. The cabin smelled of smoke and something rotting, a mixture that made my stomach twist. On a small table, an old journal lay open, its pages yellowed and brittle. Names were scrawled across them. Miners, travelers, families, all vanished. And in the margins, in shaky handwriting, a warning: the mountain remembers. The mountain takes. Suddenly, the temperature dropped further. My hands turned numb. I could hear it clearly now, footsteps circling, scraping across the floor as if invisible guests were pacing, watching my every move. I turned toward the corner, and for a fraction of a second I saw them. Faces pale and twisted, eyes hollow, staring directly at me. Then they vanished, leaving only a cold emptiness. Something brushed past my arm. I spun, but again, nothing was there. Yet the whispers grew louder, overlapping, a chorus of warnings and screams. The cabin wasn't abandoned. It had never been. And I realized, with a chilling clarity, that the spirits of Brushy Mountain weren't just trapped, they were waiting. Waiting for someone to join them, waiting for someone to listen, waiting for someone to remember. Outside, the fog pressed in tighter, almost alive. Shadows danced along the walls, casting forms that weren't mine. A sudden knock echoed through the cabin, soft at first, then urgent, demanding attention. I froze, heart pounding. The mountain had finally made itself known. And then, in the mirror hanging crooked on the wall, I saw it. A pale figure standing behind me, its face twisted in silent torment. I turned. Nothing. But the reflection remained. Was I alone in the cabin? Or had I stepped into the mountain's memory, becoming part of the story that no one ever escapes? Ghosts of the past lingering dread. The cabin seemed to pulse with life or death. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind felt deliberate, like the mountain itself was speaking. I could hear faint cries, voices layered over one another, echoing from every corner. The ghosts of Brushy Mountain were not silent. They demanded to be seen, to be remembered. I stumbled toward the journal, desperate for answers. Each page told the same story. People lured into the woods, swallowed by tunnels, forgotten in the fog. Their names etched into the pages as if the mountain claimed them, body and soul. The deeper I read, the heavier the air became, pressing against my chest. Shadows flickered at the edge of my vision, and I could feel countless eyes on me, watching, waiting. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, throwing me back against the wall. The whispers grew louder, forming words I could almost understand. Stay, join us, remember. Panic surged. I ran to the window, but the fog outside seemed endless, moving unnaturally like it wanted to trap me here forever. The cabin was no longer just a place. It was a trap, a memory made flesh. A figure emerged from the mist outside, pale and broken, its face contorted with anguish. It raised its hand, pointing directly at me. The journal fell from my grasp as the air grew icy. I realized then, Brushy Mountain doesn't let go. Those who enter are never truly free. The spirits linger, feeding on fear, dragging memories into the living world. I backed away, my mind racing. Every exit seemed blocked, every shadow hiding something unseen. The whispers became cries, overlapping in a chaotic symphony of torment. The fog pressed harder, wrapping around the cabin, and I understood I was not just witnessing history. I was part of it now. Finally, in a sudden silence, I caught a glimpse of the first light of dawn. The fog thinned slightly, and the cabin seemed still. But the memory of what I had seen didn't fade. Brushy Mountain had marked me, its ghosts following silently, waiting for nightfall to reclaim me again. The mountain keeps its secrets, and the stories are never finished. The spirits remain, lingering in the mist, whispering to anyone brave or foolish enough to enter. And sometimes, when the wind carries the right sound, you can hear them calling your name. If you ever find yourself near Brushy Mountain, remember, some stories aren't just told. They live, they wait, and they never let go. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch the next story. if you dare.